Make sure to check out my Kofi account, link down in the description. And check out my other series, Modern Classics and TV Treasures.
His name is Henry. He's all about those classics. Dust off the old ones and gives them shine. He finds some goodies and finds you some baddies. And reviews ones folks from forgot. His name is Henry. He's over the
Can't be done, I tell you.
mustache.
Can't be done.
20th century reviews are here. 20th century reviews are here.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, and today we're going to be looking at the mystery of the Wax Museum. Wait a minute, why am I doing the Wax Museum review here? I should do it at a wax museum. Excuse me. Oh, I'm at the Smithsonian, I must be. Well, I guess that's close enough. Let's start with the review. When Igor's partner decides to burn his wax museum to the ground to collect the insurance money, Igor and his life's work are left for dead. 1 year later, he reemerges and decides to reopen his wax museum. Meanwhile, a man with a black hat and a trench coat is stealing bodies. And these bodies are missing. And there is a connection between these bodies and the wax figures. How does it all connect? You must solve the mystery of the Wax Museum. So, what do I think of Mystery of the Wax Museum? Well, I like it. There's some weird posters. Like, am I supposed to censor this? I know she's made of wax, but still. This poster looks like he's holding a voodoo doll. And this poster looks like it's for a weird nudie flick. And this poster looks pretty cool with the knife and the letters. And why is he holding a face? I'm not even going to touch that one. This film was made after the popularity of Dr. X and was directed by pre-Casablanca director Michael Curtis, and was written by Charles S. Belden, who also wrote installments of Charlie Chan and Dracula's Daughter, and was based on an unpublished story called The Waxworks, not to be confused with The Waxworks Murderer, and at one point had the alternate title of The Wax Museum. And Warner Brothers ended up auctioning the story. And when the film finally released, it ended up getting good reviews from Time, the New York Times, and Variety. And later got a remake with Vincent Price. A film that is so good it's considered to be even better than the original. The film for a while was seen as lost media, locked in the studio vault until it was discovered in the 1960s and 70s. And when it was discovered, it aired on channels like WUSA and the BBC. and even got a Blu-ray release. The film was also one of the first movies to be shot in 2-strip Technicolor. Technicolor is kind of similar to 3-strip Technicolor, only instead you take one piece of black and white film and combine it with 2 colors, that being red and green. Put them together and you get one colored image. This process had problems. For instance, the films back then often had a tendency to scratch like a DVD. So this process was junked until the 3-strip Technicolor process was invented. The film starts out with the professor's assistant wanting to burn down the wax museum for the insurance money, as stated in the summary. The wax figures are like his children, and he said he would rather die than see his creations be burned to the ground, only for a fight to ensue between the professor and his partner, as we see them fight and the wax figures start melting. I don't know how to describe the imagery of the wax figures. There's just something about watching them melt which is just haunting. This whole scene is like 2 sides of one coin. On the one side, this whole scene feels like it should be the finale. It feels sort of climactic, but on the other side, it does do a good job in setting up the story. And it easily gets you to sympathize with the professor, as after the fire, his hands were badly burned, and he can no longer sculpt statues with the same amount of expertise. And he's always dependent on someone else to sculpt the statues for him. He's a man who's lost everything in the matter of one night. Yeah, you can see why this guy would resort to serial killing, or in other words, murder. This is one improvement that I felt like the 2005 remake with Paris Hilton did way better by switching this scene from the beginning to the very end. We see bodies being delivered to the morgue, and then we see this mysterious figure hiding in the shadows. And from the looks of this dude, he looks like the Toxic Avenger doing his best Major Arnold cosplay from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Talk more about him later, but for now, let us focus our attention on the reporter, Lawrence, who's very spunky and witty, and she just so happens to be played by Glenda Farrell, who played the girlfriend in Little Caesar, starring Edward G. Robinson, and played a gold digger in Gold Diggers of 1937. She does have a good relationship with the police station, with her relationship being with the officers. Less could be said about her relationship with her boss, Jim, played by Frank McHugh, who was in the previously reviewed movies such as Elmer the Great with Jolie Brown, as well as the 1945 State Fair, 1949's Mighty Joe Young, and he was in Footlight Parade, which had amazing choreography from Buzzley Burtley, and was responsible for giving me this little gem.
Can't be done, I tell you. Can't be done.
Both Jim and Florence have a funny on and off thing going for them when Florence discovers that the wax figures have an uncanny resemblance to the victims that were murdered. And her boss has a hard time believing her, so she ends up becoming the female version of Tintin and does some investigation. She notices that something might be up with the statues is when she witnesses the professor's assistant stabs a knife into the wax figure with red blood coming out. And just the redness of the blood is mind-blowing for 1933 standards. Next up is Florence's sister, Charlotte, played by Fay Wray, who is Ann Darrell in King Kong. There isn't much to say about Charlotte without going into spoilers, other than she happens to be the girlfriend to the professor's assistant, and she's also, as stated, Florence's sister, who she happens to live with. And the fact that she just so happens to look like one of the professor's wax figures. Coincidence? I think so. And Charlotte at one point dresses like Scarlet from Gone with the Wind. Spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil the twist to this movie, so if you don't want spoilers, skip to this time code. We see Charlotte go down to Professor Ivan's wax laboratory, and where she meets Professor Ivan. And yeah, I forgot to mention, the professor's name is Ivan. And I also forgot to mention that he's played by Lionel Atwill, who also played the inspector in Son of Frankenstein. Lionel Atwill pulls off both the tragic and scary side of Ivan as we get this.
Come! Let me go! Let me go! Let me...
I never thought I'd be using a Mr. Plinkett quote, but here.
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face?
Yeah, his face looks like a burned up marshmallow. And if he's good at making realistic looking wax masks, then he's in the wrong business. Why doesn't he do transplanting? Like actual face transplanting. And the makeup for this is really good. It was done by Pierce Westmore, who would later do the makeup for the Munsters. The whole twist is that he was the one who murdered all those people and stole their corpses and turned them into wax figures to display at his museum.
What a twist!
Do I have any problems with this movie? No, not really, outside of a small nitpick. Like, we see the wax statues, and we see their eyes moving. How is that even happening? What is this, Scooby-Doo? Other one is Ivan's death. We never get to see it happen on screen. What do? We get a mummified version of a wax version of his partner falling to the ground. What the hell? I mean, the last time we see this guy, he's making a phone call, he disappears, and we never get to see him waxed. I mean, he's the only character who deserves to be waxed. Everyone else who Ivan has killed don't deserve it. Well, the mystery of the Wax Museum is a mystery that you will want to discover. I say check it out. 5 gold stars. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about House of Wax right here. But until the next review, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, signing off.